Well, thank you guys so much for taking time from your busy week on a Thursday to join us for this nice, awesome demo. GReminders has come across my radar when I've been doing research as far as possible new tech companies and ways to make our lives easier and automate our everyday processes. And they're just so fantastic and work with so many CRMs and calendars. So without further ado, I'm going to let Zira jump in and go over a demo of, what GReminders is and how it could benefit our advisors at Advisors Academy.
Thank you so much, Abby. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. We are GReminders. We are an automated scheduling and reminders platform specifically built for advisors. We aim to limit human error, streamline and increase productivity, and of course, reduce no-shows in your practice. So how does GReminders fit into the financial services industry? And where did we start out? So in 2018, we saw a niche in the marketplace because Google stopped offering text reminders. The G in GReminders, it was meant to stand for Google, as in Google Reminders, since we only offered reminders on the Google Calendar. So it didn't take long, however, for us to offer reminders on Outlook. And then eventually we sort of just fell into online scheduling. From there, it seemed like a natural progression to move into the financial services industry, as we've seen this need become greater for advisors. We started working with Redtail to develop an integration, and then we added Wealthbox, and the response we received from that really confirmed that this was the industry that we needed to focus on and tailor our product to. So last year, we launched those integrations with the two biggest financial services CRMs, and we've just really continue to expand on those, as well as quite a few others like Salesforce, HubSpot, things like that. My name is Zira Burkett. I'm the Partner Relationship Manager with GReminders. A little bit of background on me. I also come from the financial services industry. I was a marketing director for an advisory for a number of years, so I'm familiar with a lot of the pain points advisors and operations teams are experiencing when it comes to scheduling and follow-up. I've built many advisory CRM databases across multiple platforms like Redtail, Wealthbox, and HubSpot. So needless to say, I'm very excited to kind of show you how beneficial GReminders can be for your business. So G2 rated us in the top 100 of fastest growing products. So of course, we're always excited to share that. But really, let's jump right into it. How are we different than your current automated scheduling system? So I'll elaborate on and I'll demo kind of a few of these key features later. But really, to put it plainly, we are the only automated scheduling system that directly integrates with Redtail and Wealthbox, as well as a host of other CRM platforms. So what that means is we've got this two-way sync from your calendar and CRM to GReminders. We have the ability to automate your workflows in both Redtail and Wealthbox, and activity templates in Redtail without setting up really any tricky automation criteria. Currently, with using only automations in Redtail, you're having to manually trigger those activity templates. So with GReminders, we are able to set activities for you automatically. We will update existing contact information or we'll add new contacts to your CRM when someone schedules with you. We write to UDFs in Redtail and custom fields in Wealthbox. We work with your existing calendar. So if you're not utilizing Redtail's calendar, we do have the ability to talk to and work with your Google or Microsoft calendar as well. With GReminders, you don't have to set up Zapier for us to work with your CRM or really any other integration. We are direct, we're customizable, and truly we work all within the background of your CRM. We don't want to be a platform that you're living out of. We're really made to be set up once, you spend the time, and then you're really not in there unless you're changing, your practices, your processes, you're changing the way you carry your meetings, things like that. But if you have set processes, we're really just meant to be set up once, you don't really go back into us. Okay, so what does it mean to directly integrate? I think that this really puts a visual just to how confusing other automated scheduling platforms can be when you're trying to integrate them into your CRM. For Calendly or other automated scheduling softwares, you're setting up Zaps to fully automate your scheduling. You know, while Calendly lets your clients or prospects select their own meeting times, which is great. That's exactly why we're seeking automated scheduling, because we don't want to have to be the person chasing the client or prospect around. You do still have to set up Zaps to see that in your CRM. Activities aren't being created, contacts are not being added, and workflows aren't being launched unless you have Zapier, which is just another costly platform. This is what our integration looks like. We skip the middleman, we speak directly to your CRM on an organizational level. So that means when someone books through GReminders or you book an event or meeting on your work calendar, we're looking in your CRM to add that new contact or update an existing one, set activities and trigger activity templates. We're launching those workflows for your meeting types, writing notes back to the contact for all reminders sent out, and so on. We're again made to be set up once and work in the background. So if you need to schedule, reschedule, cancel, all of that's done from your CRM or your calendar, you know, whichever you're living out of the most. You're not having to send out another booking link or send another email or go into a booking link and reschedule it yourself on the back end. Just move it on your calendar. And if you have reminders set up with us, your client or prospect receives a confirmation that the meeting has been scheduled, rescheduled, or canceled. So a few key features to make note of. We do offer things like routing forms for advisories with multiple locations or servicing advisors. These are like pre-screening questions really to make sure that you're routing that prospect or client to the right advisor. So this could look like maybe certain advisors taking like regions. So all Northeast clients versus another advisor, you know, maybe taking all Southwest clients, to routing prospects to like Medicare only advisors or advisors servicing really specific account types. We also have a bulk send feature. This allows you to send emails and text messages to personalized lists. So you'll just export that list right from your CRM, paste the email or phone numbers into the bulk send. We mostly see this used for things like maybe webinar invitations, annual review notifications. How great would it be to just be able to send your clients a text that says it's time to do your annual review for December, click this link to book it. So we typically see it for that, or even just reminding them, you know, you need to take your R&Ds, or we need to take those QCDs, just things that are, you know, these big notifications for the end of the year. So I did mention a little bit before about writing back information to the contact. This is an example of how this shows mapping in Redtail UDS. So the information you're collecting when scheduling, we've got what we call form questions, which I'm happy to show you if need be in the platform, as well as post-schedule questions. So this is exactly as it sounds. Once they've scheduled with you, they'll be redirected to the thank you page, and then that will have, you know, a list of optional questions they can answer. All of this criteria, anything that you'd like, as long as you've got a UDF in Redtail or a custom field in Wealthbox, same thing, custom field in Salesforce, this can all be written back to that. So you'll just map that, and I can definitely show you how to do that as well. So as long as you've got that UDF with the information that you want to collect, we'll do the work by automatically putting this information into your CRM. And again, as I said, the same thing with Wealthbox custom fields. If you've got the custom fields set up in Wealthbox, we can write that information collected on the form questions or the post-schedule questions and automatically add that to the custom fields defined in the CRM. I did also speak a little bit about automatically launching workflows against a contact when a meeting is scheduled. So we are able to launch one or more workflows against individual meeting types when scheduled with GReminders. So with Redtail, you know, you're no longer having to set up that tricky automation criteria. Sometimes, not for everybody, but sometimes that can become a little bit cumbersome. You know, it's if this, then this, and that just, I do feel like can get tricky. So with GReminders, you're just clicking a drop down and selecting which workflow template you'd like to launch. And then we do all of the work for you by linking the contact, as well as defining those roles, teams, users, wherever the task needs to go. As long as you've got it built out in that template, we will assign that to the right user in your database. So this is also the same with Wealthbox. Currently with Wealthbox, you have zero automation capability. Now, when meeting types are scheduled, you can kick off the corresponding workflow that coincides with the meeting type to begin fully automating not only your scheduling process, but also your inner office processes by kicking off those workflows. Let's also touch on the activity template side. So typically for smaller firms, we see that their operational processes may be sometimes mapped out in activity templates rather than mapping them out, maybe building out an entire workflow. For larger firms, though, maybe we want to trigger a few different activity templates surrounding a specific meeting type. This is now possible with GReminders. Before we're manually clicking in those activity templates when we're setting up an activity. There's just a lot of ways that, maybe we can forget to do something or drop the ball. So now what happens is somebody schedules a meeting with GReminders. You have the activity templates, however many you'd like, set against that meeting, and those will automatically be triggered for you. Set the due date for you as defined in the template. So that way you're receiving that activity template when you need to, and getting it done on time. And in addition to your workflows, it's not an either or, it's you can do both at the same time if that's really how your processes are built out. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the reminder side. We've talked about the scheduling side and what that looks like in our CRM. Let's talk a little bit about how reminders and reducing those no-shows and how those reminders talk to the CRM. Do we even see those in our CRM anywhere? So we do currently have the capability to send reminders for initial booking notifications, standard reminders for maybe just upcoming meetings, follow-ups post-meeting. I love this one because this essentially means, like, let's look at our onboarding process. We met with somebody, we had the introductory meeting, they scheduled it through GReminders. We've had maybe they received an initial booking saying, thank you, we'll see you when we see you kind of deal. And then we meet with them, we've put all of our notes in. Well, before they even leave our office, before they're even in their car ready to go or exited their Zoom call, with follow-up post-meeting reminders or notifications, they're now getting a templated email or a text message saying, thank you so much for meeting with me today. Had a great time discussing, insert what we discussed. And then there's the next meeting booking link. So you're not having to follow up with them. You can set the criteria against how far out you'd like them to book, how soon you'd like them to book, just already automatically. So your entire onboarding process from start to finish, some advisors have 5 meetings to close, other advisors have 2. So either way, it's entirely automated for you. We also have meeting reschedule notifications, which I talked about a little bit earlier, where you just move that meeting on your calendar. They automatically get a notification saying your meeting has been rescheduled. And then the same thing with meeting cancellations. If a meeting is canceled on your calendar, they will get a notification automatically letting them know this meeting has been canceled. These reminders do write back to the contact card. So as an advisor or operations team member, you're not losing the ability to see the historical timeline. That's part of the integration. It's important as an advisor to know the last correspondence between you and the client. And I think that the easiest way to do this and stay on top of that is, to review the contact notes, because if it's not in Redtail, it never even happened. So this is kind of what that looks like. So if you've got confirmations set up with us, when your client or prospect replies yes, which I believe, yep, shows here, they're going to get a little check mark next to their name or the event meeting title. And that's just going to let you know that they've confirmed that they've replied yes. So when we're doing those day before confirmations, you're not having to go through a list of, 10 appointments for all the advisors in your office. You just need to call the ones that have not confirmed with you, via our scheduling system. We do also have a talkback feature, which you'll see here. If you ask them to reply confirming that they'll be attending, you can create an automatic personalized message to thank them for confirming their appointment. So let's say, for instance, they say no, you can always say, okay, no worries. Here's a link to reschedule this meeting if you'd like, or you can give our office a call and, cancel that in person or send them a cancellation link. It just depends on how automated you want to be. We don't, I think really the takeaway here is we don't want you to lose the personability or diminish the client experience. And I think when I was in the financial services industry, I know that was kind of the shying away from automated scheduling systems is, it's just them talking to, a computer, and we don't want them to feel like we don't care about them or that, it's an untrustworthy system. They're not talking to their advisor. This GReminders really does allow you to appear as if they're having a conversation. They're texting their advisor to say, I can't make it, I'm so sorry. Okay, no worries. click here if you want to reschedule. If not, give me a call. No big deal. We can cancel and push this out. So you can make this look like whatever you'd like it to look like. Okay, so to talk a little bit about and go a little bit more in depth to those reschedule notifications, you can automate this notification be sent to your client or prospect. So that way they receive an email or text message alerting them that the meeting was rescheduled, which really means one less click for you. So instead of rebooking that meeting, we're just moving it on our calendar, and our system will send them that personalized message. You can make this say, you know, whatever you want with your branding, that kind of thing. There's no limitations. Okay, so we do integrate with the most popular video conferencing platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Skype. If you're collecting payments for meetings, you can set up Stripe or Square to do so through each individual meeting type. And I'll show you where this lives in the event type. It's pretty easy to set up. We do also integrate with VoIP office phone systems like Intol's. So that way you can use their tools and platforms with ours to make meeting locations easier for your clients to choose from. So setting up, you know, Zoom, or I know Intol's has like a web conferencing tool as well. So just we're trying to expand our integrations so that way, you know, it's an ease of use for you and also your clients. Okay, so we do offer a weekly compliance digest. We offer a couple different ways, you know, that we stay within compliance or that you can present to, you know, from a compliance standpoint. This is a digest of all reminder correspondence between our system and your clients and prospects. So if you have SMARsh or email archiving, this digest is sent directly to your email and can be archived this way. I think, you know, I might be speaking for Abby here, but if you're interested in learning more about this, I highly suggest speaking with Abby. And then of course you can reach out to GReminders and we can set up kind of a more personalized demo and get any compliance questions answered.
Yes, and just to kind of jump in on that, and when we originally looked into GReminders, I've had some extensive conversations with Sound Income Strategies, our RIA, with Sound Income Group, and we were able to get a lot of things approved and just work through the kinks. So you know, good to know on that end. Yeah.
Okay, so are there any questions? Do we want to move on to the question portion? And maybe I can do some of these questions in the platform. I can pull that up.
Yeah, I see that 2 questions came up during, you know, could it link to an iMac calendar?
No, we currently do not push to Apple products in that way.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there are some integrations that we could figure out a way around that. And then if you accidentally move an item on a calendar, is there a delay before that cancel message is sent? Or I'm assuming
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if there's like an accident there, I believe it's like a 5 minute. There's a with Redtail, I think it's like
Yeah.
I can't remember, between 5 and 30 minutes, something like that. I'll get a definite answer for you, but there is a little bit of a delay.
I'm pretty sure you can like customize that too. So like
Yep.
if you do schedule something, say you're making appointments after a seminar and you add them all to your calendar before you know, maybe personally reaching out to them, you can delay that, you know, a few hours or, you know, a certain amount of time. So that way it gives you time to reach out to them, talk to them, let them know that they're expecting an email. So there's a lot of customization on this platform, which can be a bit overwhelming at times, but like Zira said before, it's kind of like you want to take your time going through it, making sure it's right, but then knowing that at that point, it's just going to be working in the background and you're just going to be making tweaks, you know, as if you normally would to your processes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll bring over, so you know, I see we have like a couple more questions. Let's see here. Is the text from Redtail Speak? Oh, okay. So what number does the client see? So that's on our side. I think also from like the text perspective, a lot of people confuse us with a texting service or maybe even compare us to like my rep chat or something like that. That's not what this is. So, we have like a host of numbers. Essentially, your client will receive a text from a specific number of that host of numbers, but that will always be the text the number that they receive from. Same thing with like personal reminders. I take very full advantage of our personal reminder option. There is something that I absolutely love about getting a text at 5 a.m. that says what my agenda looks like for the day. And that always comes from the same number. So it's not necessarily something that is through Redtail Speak at all. It's not integrated in that way. It's just our own service. But like I said, it's set up and then you don't really touch it. You don't really have anything to do with the tool itself. It's just working in the background. And then Abby, do you want to answer, is the weekly email how we deal with compliance?
Yes, so we do have Smarshmail. They have that ability to connect to Smarshmail. But if you're getting a weekly email sent to your email, like that's archived already through SIS, that should archive because your Smarshmail is archived. So that will be, consistent with what Sound Income Strategies needs. As long as they're getting a list of all of the correspondence that's going out. And like Zira said before, this isn't so much like your clients are going to be texting you, hey, can you make this trade? Or are you guys open until 3? It's more so when we approve the client reminders that are being sent out, it's similar to how you're approving, say, like a confirmation letter that gets sent out every single time. So the same reminders are going to be sent out. It's not pliable. It's again, it's an automated system that's working in the background, if that makes sense.
Okay, this is an excellent question, and it actually is kind of bringing me into the platform, and I'd love to kind of use it as a board to jump into the platform and show you guys around. So the question is, can you integrate it with more than one calendar? Yes. Per user, it's up to 5. So you gave an example here. I use Outlook for work, but Google for home and school. Can you manage all calendars with that automated notice, like your daily tasks? So here's a little bit about the way managed calendars work. You're going to have a primary calendar where people are scheduling on, right? This is typically going to be our work calendar. For the sake of this example, let's just say that we are a firm that works out of our Redtail calendar. For us, for jobs I've previously had, building databases for advisors, and then even whenever I was in the financial services industry, actually working for an advisory, best practice is to use the Redtail calendar. I know that typically we don't love it. I totally understand. But from a CRM best practice, perspective, every financial services consultant out there is going to tell you use the Redtail calendar. But if we aren't, which I totally get, nothing changes about our platform. Everything still works the same. So don't fret. I'm just using for this example that maybe our work calendar is our Redtail calendar. But then I've got a personal calendar. This is where I'm picking up my kids first, at a certain time. I'm blocking my calendar. I'm not available. Don't book me. I've got doctor's appointments, but I don't want everybody to see that on my work calendar, or be able to use that as metrics to not book with me. So instead, what we do is you can integrate as many calendars here as you'd like, up to 5. You'll set your primary to your work calendar, and this is where all of those meeting types, which I'll show you in just a moment, this is where all those are going to live. Anytime somebody schedules with you, that meeting is going to land on the work calendar, because we want your office to be able to see it, we want you to be able to see it, and you work out of one central hub. However, whenever we offer availability to others when they're scheduling with you, they're not going to see availability on your work calendar that is not available on your personal calendar. We're going to make sure that that's blocked off as well. People at work are not going to be able to see that it's because you have a doctor's appointment, because that's on your personal calendar, but nobody will be able to schedule for that time. That will be unavailable on your booking pages, which I can kind of show you what that'll look like in just a minute. So yeah, you can send reminders. I have mine selected. So, if you've got like personal stuff where you maybe want to send personal reminders to yourself, like a text, like, oh, I can't forget I've got this exam due, or I can't forget I have to go pick up the kids today, or, whatever you've got listed on that calendar, you can send those personal reminders again. So you're not losing really that availability, but you are able to check against it. But just know that if you set it to primary, that's where all of your bookings are going to go. So obviously we recommend primary be whatever your work calendar is. So when we talk about event types, and we are talking about like whenever we're scheduling and what that looks like. So under scheduling, so a couple different places here to set up event types. You can do so in event type templates. I think with Advisors Academy, that's going to be where you guys are living with your event with your event types.
Yep. For most, I'd say like a lot of the bigger firms, you'll want to be using the event type templates because if you have more than one advisor, you don't want to have to be building these out twice per user. If you are a single advisor and you're, not planning on building out your firm at any point, then you could do just it under the event types. But yeah, if you have any plans, even if it's like far off in the future, just do it under the templates. It's a lot easier.
Yes. To give like a funny little use case about that, I used to build the GReminders platform for advisors under a consulting agency. And it was before that we had this feature. We didn't have the template feature. And so when you have these advisors, I mean, really anything more than two is
Yeah.
just anything more than two advisors is like, oh my gosh, it takes a long time because what templates do for you, and I'll show them here. So you have what's called managed. So like right now I'm in like just my personal event types. These are everything that show up to me. If I've got templates under my organization, they're going to show up for me as managed. But if I'm building them out, I'll go to templates and just build them out one time. So that way they show up, I can give specific permissions. Maybe certain advisors only take check-in or intros, and then other advisors take specialist meetings. But I want to build that once in case I hire on another, insurance specialist. I'm not having to completely put in and make sure all the criteria is the same and, potentially drop the ball somewhere or miss a step or miss the availability or mess up something. It's just to create continuity, of course, with your business, but then also save you so much time. I've built out so many advisors platforms for this before this feature was something that GReminders was doing. And I mean, one person had 62 event types that I had to build in across the entire team. So, they had like 5 advisors, they had their entire onboarding process. It just can become a lot, whenever you have to do it singularly, but that could have been reduced to like 10 and then, it would have been a lot easier, a lot more manageable. Okay, so let's take you through, just a typical intro event type. This is going to be what it looks like under the template side, which you'll see you have an extra box here versus in regular. In your regular event, you won't have an internal description, but this is just so that way you can keep on top of exactly what this meeting is for. But you have a public description. You can edit this short name, but this is what is going to be shown to your clients. So I typically recommend actually typing this out and saying introductory meeting. This is where you'll be able to add those location options. So like if you have web conferencing, if you've got an address, for like a physical address that you're offering people to come into, or a phone call. Typically for phone calls, we always recommend putting the invitee's phone rather than your office phone, because then you have a number to call out to. That is a whole conversation on custom variables, which is a huge part of GReminders, and that does belong in more of a personalized demo, more of a conversation with Abby, because that's going to be really specific to the actual advisor and the advisory. So talk about that with Abby, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any of those. So the event bookings criteria, this is going to look pretty similar to other automated scheduling systems. This is literally just the criteria that you are offering this appointment. How far out can they schedule this? You're offering the next 60 days on your calendar. They can schedule at any time. Do you want to require approval, which basically means, do you want to get an email with a big green button or a big red button that says, yes, I'll take this meeting. No, I won't. How long is the meeting? How soon, once they get the link, can they schedule the meeting? Are you a person that says, yes, 10 minutes, I'm ready to do an appointment? Or are you somebody that needs like a day to prepare and see that it's on your schedule? You can select that. What is the buffer between meetings? 15 minutes. Do you need 15 minutes before an annual review to an introductory? Do you need 30, an hour? How many events of this type or in general do you want to offer on your calendar? The time zone defaults to dynamic. So this basically just means like I'm East Coast. So I want people on the West Coast to be able to see my East Coast availability in their time zone. So I definitely recommend not fiddling with this, but you can select it to your fixed time zone. But just know that if you do that, whenever they're scheduling with you, it can get a little wonky. We've had some problems with that. Meeting type and meeting category. So specifically, Redtail users, ears up, because meeting type and meeting category talk to activity type and activity category. What you'll see when you integrate Redtail with GReminders are these lists will pre-populate. So anything you have in your activity type list, same thing with your category list, this will populate for you automatically, and you can start itemizing or categorizing your information here for reports. So our form questions, this is kind of what I talked about with writing information back to the UDFs. This is where those will live. So I want to know veteran status. That's a UDF in Redtail, a custom field in Wealthbox for me. I want to know what their veteran status is. You can decide if you want this information filled, if that UDF or custom field is blank, or if you just want to overwrite the existing value. So to me, it makes sense to overwrite the existing value of veteran status because that is subject to change. But you might have something that says, are you a Medicare recipient? I only want to overwrite that if the UDF is blank, because that's not going to be something, or if it's blank, it means I don't have information on it. So something that maybe is a little bit more concurrent, it doesn't change often. You can also include disclosures on your form questions. Sometimes that's necessary. Same thing with terms and conditions that they have to accept. You can set that up as well. All of this is relatively easy. You just add it. It's very fast. So, oh, there's my Medicare recipient, and then boop, are you a Medicare recipient? So it's pretty quick. You can also set up one-off questions for just maybe this specific event type. It's not something that you need on every single event, but maybe just for an intro meeting, you want to know what is their current portfolio size. If that's something you're asking on a questionnaire here, you can have that in this. Same exact thing applies to post-schedule questions. So anything that you put in the first half, you can put in the second half. And basically, once they schedule with you, you can then have them sent to a thank you page that populates this list of questions for you. I've seen advisors use this for like getting prepared for the discovery meeting. They've got like a list of questions that they'd like to fill out prior to them coming to the discovery meeting. That's where this feels pretty powerful. But I do see that for that, typically they are using the post-schedule question and making it more optional rather than the form questions being a little bit more required to book. Okay, invite details. So this is what's going to show up on your calendar. So what do we want to see in that event description? Sometimes let's say we're not working out of our Redtail calendar and we're working out of Google or Outlook. And oftentimes for those, we are attaching the contact to that invite. So that way they can also be on that or add it to their calendar, what have you. What I see typically for like the event description that people will do is template a meeting agenda. So that way the client or prospect can kind of see what you guys are going to go over. Again, this is just a templated process. This doesn't have to be, Bible. This doesn't have to be exactly what you guys, have to talk about, but I do see typically people are writing out that information there. So that way, we've got that, but you've got variables here that you can insert, like Zoom links or, so different, contact information, whatever you have, that can all be listed here. This is where you'll set up those payments. Like I said, it's pretty easy. You just click into this, it'll bring you to Stripe or Square and you can set that up. That custom thank you page, you can either do GReminders, which is just a typical thank you so much for booking with us. It's got a little bit of branding for your firm, and then it gives the time and date, obviously, of the appointment. But then you can also custom redirect. So I think I see this more typically for like introductory meetings. Maybe you've got a video on your website that you'd like them to be directed to that says a little bit about your firm, what to expect that first meeting, introducing yourself, stuff like that. You can custom redirect to any URL. It could also be a PDF, anything like that that you're wanting to redirect. As long as it's got a URL, you can direct them to that right after they schedule. And then last but not least, the biggest part, the best part, in my opinion, whenever it comes to the CRM integration is the workflow section. So for an introductory meeting, I'll just take these off and I can show you kind of how it goes, is this list will pre-populate. We will look at all of your existing templates for workflows and activity templates that you have built out in your CRM and populate this list here for you. Same thing with Wealthbox. If you have Wealthbox workflow templates, they will also appear here. So for my first appointment, my intro meeting, I want to definitely do, I want to kick off my follow-up process automatically. I want to do my introductory meeting workflow, but maybe I also have an activity template that has some different information that I need to get done, or maybe something about like collecting information, what have you. So I'm going to trigger that one and kick that one off too. So now every time somebody books, I'll save this template. Every time somebody books an intro meeting, I'm able to kick off those workflows. So whenever I'm Nancy, which is my demo database here, I can see this. And this is what the booking page is going to look like. The client or prospect is going to see based off the criteria, that I said my availability was. So they'll click into this. They'll put in their information. This is what my form questions that I built out look like. My disclosure is there. I clicked for Friday, December 15th at 10:30. And I think this is going to either Google or my Redtail calendar. I don't know which one I set it to.
Redtail calendar, I think set it up for that one.
Okay, perfect. So then I can go here. Let me refresh.
And if you already have automations set up in your system, is it going to duplicate it or is it?
So it depends. So with automations, you no longer need those to kick off the workflows. So no need to have them. You can just get rid of those. Previously, when we first released this a couple months ago, there was some issues. If you had automations for the workflows and then you had us kicking off workflows, it wouldn't kick them off at all. So I just recommend turning off your automations for workflows only. You don't have to turn off all of your automations. When I think about something like that, I specifically think like, let's talk address change for a minute. We have the capability to update, an address when somebody books. You have the ability to say, I want this to be updated if they put in a different address. Because let's say, I'm speaking specifically to Redtail here. Let's say that you've got an automation and a workflow for an address change that, in Redtail, there's an automation availability that when an address is changed on a contact card, you can fire off a workflow. So let's say that workflow is an address change workflow. So when somebody schedules with you and they schedule with a different address, because maybe it's an annual review, and I think clients are notorious for not letting us know when they update their address, we will get that notification, kick off the address change workflow. So that automation will still work. You don't need, you won't be setting up an address change workflow when somebody schedules an introductory meeting, right? So those automations will still work. But if you have like duplicate automations, if you will, for workflows, like for meeting workflows, I just recommend turning those off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one question that came in, so like Jennifer asked if they have 7 advisors, can I see all of their calendars in one place, or do each advisors have their own separate account? Yeah.
Every advisor would have their own GReminders account, because whenever we look at scheduling, like, and adding them to attend as an attendee, or scheduling on their specific calendar, in the same way that, let me come back over here. In the same way that, like, if I'm working out of Google and I'm not even using Redtail's calendar, but I'm just working out of Google, my whole office works in Google, I'll have multiple, maybe other calendars of my other, that I'm kind of looking at, right, when I'm scheduling, so I can see everybody's. This kind of is why I think the availability to add multiple calendars, so that you're not having to put your personal stuff on your work calendar, is so integral and important, because everybody can see your team. Everybody can see everything that's on that calendar. So if you've got two, a personal one and this one, you're not really running into that. But the short answer to that is yes, all 7 advisors, if they would like automated scheduling, they need to have their own GReminders account.
Yeah, and just kind of think of it this way too. If you're looking at, if it's looking at availability and it's checking 7 calendars, then chances are you're going to have minimal availability at all times, because it's going to block out every calendar appointment that it sees as a blocked time. So what they have is, something that like a lot of the other calendar, the automated scheduling system has, which is round robin. So,
Mhm.
where you would basically be checking every individual calendar to see if there's an availability, and then who to set it up with. So that's what's nice. You know, you really want them to have separate users because depending on the marketing that you're doing or depending on how you're divvying out the leads, it's gonna change. So having more, there's a lot of options for GReminders, as you can see.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, that's kind of for me, I just to show you really around is, you're gonna manage all of those calendars here. This is where you'll set up, those reminders. Reminders are very straightforward. It's pretty mapped out for you. You'll just select a new one. You have defined here, is it a follow-up? Is it initial booking? There's a laundry list of criteria you can create reminders against. So this could be anything like if the event title contains the words intro meeting or introductory, I want to send this kind of reminder, and maybe it's like a really well branded email. So, down here in the email body, you'll build that out. We've got plenty of templates. I know Abby has lots of templates for stuff like this. So, this doesn't have to be as cumbersome or intimidating as it might look right now, because we're looking at things like this. These are what we call variables. And this kind of goes to those custom questions like I was talking about, but we have this list for you of pre-populated variables. So you're just clicking, here, I can kind of give you an example here. You're just finding the variable that you'd like. Maybe for this instance, I want to send add calendar links to this so they can add it. You'll just select that where you, of course, it puts it up here. That's weird. But wherever you have your cursor is where this will kind of sit. So maybe we want it to be right there. So that way, whenever you preview, this is what that's going to actually look like to them. It's going to put add to Google Calendar, add to Outlook Calendar, whichever, calendar that they'd like to add it to.
And we've built out in our account for GReminders, we've built out all of the different reminders. Some of the templates that we've created that are on the school website are in there as well. And what we're just doing for now is we're just trying to make it easier for people who are onboarding, because this is a new and complex software that we're using. So I'm going to be a bit more hands-on right now as I build out sort of like a setup for anyone who joins GReminders. And I'm actually doing this with our flagship store in Scranton Financial Group. And the hope is that, we want to make this process as easy for you as possible. So we're going to have a lot of documents that are being built, just similar to, I'm sure many of you have used my activity templates and my note templates for Redtail. It's going to be very similar to that, where you can start to build it out a lot easier. And that way we can get you guys on here as quickly as possible.
And so this is also on the, to jump back here for reminders, this is also where you'll set up those auto replies. So if they, confirm yes, you can say, oh, great, thanks so much, we'll see you then. Or if they say no, you can say, whoops, you can do something like, no worries, click here to reschedule. And then you can put the pre-populated reschedule link, right there. So it's supposed to be something, super, super easy. And then this nickname is just an internal meeting name. So whenever you're in your reminders, you'll see that it just looks like this. Same thing for personal reminders. You'll set those up exactly the same.
I think we're getting some questions on billing. So the one subscription option to have it integrate with your CRM is, and I can't remember the name, Zara, you probably know the name for it.
Our business plan.
The business plan. I thought it was the business plan. Yeah. So the business plan, which is $89.95, right?
Yes, I believe so. Through Advisors Academy. Yeah.
Yeah. $89.95, because we get being part of Advisors Academy, you guys get a 10% discount. So you get, roughly $10 off. If you were to have 5 advisors, you would have to pay an additional, because you get three users initially. with the plan. So you'd have to pay for the extra two, which is an additional $16 a month, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay, I'm good with this pricing.
Yeah, I know. But the discount does also apply to the $16 as well. It's just a across the board, you know,
Perfect.
10% discount across all
Yeah.
total plan price, if you will.
Yeah. So if you're interested in signing up, we do have a link that we can send you that does, show the updated pricing for Advisors Academy.
Yes.
And once you do set that up, just reach out to me and we can, a lot of times when it comes to like a complex setup, like, even just similar programs that we've used in the past, but GReminders or, building out note templates, workflows, anything like this, my suggestion would be to get on my calendar, schedule like, a few weekly calls to get you guys onboarded just so you stay on pace. Because with any type of implementation, if you just try to do it within your normal schedule, you'll put it off to the side. So if we get a couple just scheduled times that you guys can focus on this, I guarantee that you'll get GReminders up and running, within a few sessions.
Yeah, I was gonna say the actual initial build out, you know, of course, depending on office size. I know with this particular question, you know, what would you suggest for five plus advisors? You know, really, typically, and I've built out so many of these platforms even before I started on as the partner relationship manager with GReminders. You know, I built out platforms for 5+ advisors, and it did typically take me a couple of hours, you know, from like that's not sitting down start to finish, you know, of course that's broken up, but you know, really sitting down and just templating it out, getting it all, and even then that was before templates. So the part of the like building GReminders that ended up taking so much time was having to go advisor by advisor by advisor. Now with the templates and you're just doing it once, there's typically not a build out that's going to take more than, you know, a couple of hours
Mhm.
total, like at all, you know, it doesn't really matter about size. So, you know, it's a quick process once you're on there. And then because of what the platform is, you're not living out of it. So when we talk about like usability and, you know, you really just need to have one really good person on the team that is like an admin over all of it and can kind of be the quick answer all your questions. That's really all you need to dedicate. It doesn't have to be something that everybody in the office needs to know like the back of their hand. How do they need to implement it? What does this do? What's a custom variable? You don't need that. You just need one good person you can really just dedicate to it. I know Abby is available all the time to answer your questions, but same thing with us. You're always speaking to a person. You can always email us, and we're always ready to jump on a call and give you a hand. So even after, you know, the migrational process with Abby, you've got plenty of resources. We definitely don't just throw you to the wolves and hope that you know, sink or swim. It's definitely nothing like that.
Yeah, their support's really great. I've had a few questions along the way as I'm building it out and trying to think of all the different possibilities. And they've always been super helpful. And, I've even jumped on like a quick call with someone just to, get a quick answer on things, which is great to see in a company. Yeah, so any other questions? I think we're good.
Yeah, that was a great webinar.
Yeah.
Lots of really good questions.
Well, thanks so much, Zira, for taking the time and just, going through this and showing us how helpful this could be. Again, especially for these larger companies where you're doing a lot of reach out and already trying to set up some of these automations through other
Yeah.
companies. I just really like that this kind of works in the background. And myself being in a business for 8 years, trying to use some of the other third-party companies has been a pain. So anything that can automate my process is gonna make my life easier.
Absolutely. No, I totally get that. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate, you know, everybody really sticking around. I know I went a little bit over time, you know,
Yeah.
so, but thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And of course, any questions, I'm always available. So
All right. Well, everyone have a fantastic rest of your week. And again, if you guys have any questions, related to this and what you currently have, feel free to reach out to the coaching team. And then if you have additional questions, like Zira said, reach out to GReminders or her, and, she'll get you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye. Take care.